This is the Equid E-Commerce Show with your host, Jesse Ness, along with Richard O'Tay.
Richie O'Tay. How goes it, man?
It's that day again. We're on a Friday.
It is a Friday. It is probably one of the craziest weeks, though, that we've had here in a long time. We're kind of like in the I don't know. Well, what are we in right now? Just crazy times?
Yeah. Hey, so it's kind of ironic. I'm going to use the Chinese symbol right now, but the Chinese symbol for crisis is the combination of danger meets opportunity.
I like it.
So
I like it. We got to get some graphics on there. Wade, can you get a little Chinese symbol graphics right away here?
We'll work on it.
Yeah. So probably big surprise to everybody, but we record these ahead of time. So when you hear this, it's probably a week or two later. It's March 13th, Friday the 13th. We're like in the middle of the coronavirus stuff and a little stock market crash. So hey.
That's today, though.
What's that?
That's up today.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so that sucks. Wash your hands. Of course, you've seen plenty of emails. We're not going down that road. We're going to kind of shift it to another way in that, like, there's always something going on. Well, this is a podcast about e-commerce, not politics or, healthcare. So we're going to talk at like, hey, if you already got your business going, this is a good time to kind of take a look at, being of service. And also there is an opportunity out there right now. Like, people are going to be at home. They're not leaving their house. This is a reality. Like, it's not opportunity like, yay. It's just more, I hope you are prepared. I hope you were listening to the podcast and did all the things we said you should do, because you'll be ready and you'll be a service to people, because people can't leave. They're going to need to buy stuff. They're going to need to buy it online. There's going to be people that have never made purchases online making their first purchases. So, hey, here we are. Coronavirus.
Yeah, and why not be talking about one of the biggest search engines, or the second biggest search engine at this time, in YouTube?
Yeah, so people are going to be doing a lot of things. They're probably going to be, at a certain point, they're going to have seen everything on Netflix that they can possibly watch. The DVRs are cleaned out, and then there's YouTube. So basically, we've talked a little bit about YouTube, and, Rich, how's your YouTube game?
That's good. I look forward. I mean, man, we have a very qualified YouTube expert that's going to be coming on, and I wish we could have him for even more time than we're going to have him. We're going to be talking mostly Equid here, but I would love to pick his brain for days if possible. But hey, we got him for what we got him, so let's take advantage.
Yeah, everybody, let's get your YouTube game in action right now. It is the time. Let's bring on our guest, Brett Curry, CEO of OMG Commerce. How's it going, Brett?
What's up, fellas? How are you?
Fantastic. We're kind of hunkered down, as we mentioned. It's weird week, a rainy day in San Diego, but it is kind of time to buckle down, get on your computers, take care of the kids, and get ready, because it's coming.
Hey, two things that are coronavirus free. That is, online shopping and podcasts. So we're in a good space right now.
We are
podcast about online shopping and e-commerce. So we're ready. We're ready for whatever comes our way, right?
Yeah, love it. So yeah, Brett, I know you have a lot of different topics we can talk about, but I was just at your event at the Google office about YouTube. So really wanted to, kind of have you share your knowledge with the Equid community about kind of YouTube e-commerce in general. Before we get there, why don't we get a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. So I am a self-proclaimed marketing junkie. I have always enjoyed the psychology of what makes people buy. And I've always liked ads. I even enjoyed infomercials as a kid. I remember really being fascinated by the Ginsu knife commercials back when they first came out. I was pretty young at the time. So I actually started a traditional ad agency right out of college, which is not the typical path to success, but I did a lot of TV, radio, even some direct mail. Then started dabbling in online marketing in 2004. And then 2010, started OMG with my business partner, Chris Brewer. And we tried a lot of things. We tried website design and all kinds of marketing things, and realized we really liked Google ads. We liked search. Once it came out, we liked Google Shopping. And then really I fell in love with YouTube ads because it was kind of like the marrying of both my worlds where, I knew Google ads and even search engine optimization really well, but I had this TV background. And so kind of everything came together in this magical fashion with YouTube and YouTube ads. And so we kind of became a leader in YouTube ads. We've been running YouTube campaigns, ad campaigns for about 3 years. Very close relationship with our Google reps. The event you spoke of was at the YouTube and Google offices in LA. Super cool space. But our reps invited us to do that. So they said, hey, YouTube ads. Let's do an event. Let's invite some e-commerce brands to attend. We did that. It was a ton of fun. It was before the scare, Corona stuff got too out of hand here in the States. And so we did the event. It was a lot of fun. And so that's kind of the abbreviated background, but ultimately, now we work with e-commerce brands, helping them accelerate their growth with the Google Ads ecosystem and the Amazon Ads ecosystem. But I spend a lot of time on YouTube, and we're a team now of about 38. So we're really, really growing and doing some fun stuff in the digital ad world.
Yeah, awesome. And I know of you because I do listen to your podcast, E-commerce Evolution.
Thank you.
There. Yeah, get a free shout out,
Yeah, you guys, between you guys and my parents, I've got a guaranteed 4 listeners, and
love it.
feel really good about that.
Yeah, we'll get you up the ranks there of yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. So I wish we could pull all the information from the YouTube event to everybody. We're not going to be able to do that today.
Sure.
But I thought can we get some listeners here to walk away with a couple tips to get started, kind of starting with the people that have never done a YouTube video before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that's listening to this, almost everybody, hi mom, they are merchants, right? So,
Yep.
all right. So most people listening have done a little bit more because they're already listening to a podcast. So assume they got a store up, they maybe played around with some ads, getting some traffic. What would you recommend people do for their first YouTube video to kind of start driving awareness?
Yeah. So there's a couple things we recommend. And I think kind of to step back, before we look at ads specifically, and Rich mentioned this in the intro, is understanding how people interact with YouTube, right? Because you need to kind of understand how and why people are using the platform. And then how you can kind of enter that conversation, how you can best structure your ad to then hopefully influence the buying process and the buying journey. And so YouTube is the second most popular search engine, even though it's not a search engine, it's a video sharing site, but more search queries are performed on YouTube than on any other search engine except for Google. So people are going to YouTube to learn, they kind of have those learn, do, and buy moments. So I'm trying to fix something around the house, which I try to avoid at all costs. I just pay people for that. Or I'm, learning how to complete this math equation, or I'm researching products. I'm looking at product reviews. I'm kind of comparing this product versus that product and looking to buy. So, YouTube users are growing up. We talked about this at the event, now for teens and millennials and Gen Z, YouTube is the most widely used platform, and then Instagram and then Snapchat. So anyway, people are using it for all these moments. When it comes to ads, and specifically for e-commerce merchants, what we like to talk about first is, hey, let's look at what are the easiest wins, what are the most surefire wins that we can engage with on the platform, and then we can kind of branch out from there. So you did mention awareness, but really we recommend you typically start with remarketing ads first, right? Okay. And this is what we recommend in essentially all cases. Like as you're building your ad presence, build the bottom of funnel first. Get your remarketing game really on point, so that then as you fill people into the top of the funnel, you're going to be able to close more of them. So, the ads that we typically run on YouTube and what the event was about, we'll mainly talk about today, are the pre-roll ads. So, you go to YouTube to watch how to fix your lawnmower video, and just prior to that, an ad for Lowe's runs, and you can skip it after 5 seconds. So that's the type of ad we're running. The first thing we recommend people do is, hey, let's create some videos that you can run to your cart abandoners, that you can run to your product detail page viewers that have not purchased. Or maybe if you sell multiple SKUs, let's run an ad to people that have bought one of your products, but not another. Kind of we call it a bought X, not Y campaign. So we like to start at the bottom of funnel because that's easy wins. We can test some video creatives. It's a little easier to create a video for those audiences. You don't have to spend as much. And then once you get some success, all right, now we're comfortable with the platform. Now let's start going a little higher in the funnel and broadening our reach a little bit.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, preaching to the choir here about the remarketing first. It's kind of what we talk about with Facebook and Google, and now it's not just me saying it. It's another expert saying remarketing first. So let's take a look at maybe cart abandoners would be kind of the obvious one, and obviously the better the video, the better the result, but I mean, can we start with can people just pick up their phone and say, hey, saw you're on my site. Could check out the product? Here's some features, benefits. Like what would you recommend to, people with essentially no budget and a phone, right? Like how could they get going?
Yeah, there's lots of creative ways you can approach that. I think the first thing you need to consider is, hey, why would someone add to cart and then not check out? And obviously that happens all the time. But some people do that just because, one, they never planned to buy in the first place. They were just adding to cart to maybe check shipping prices, or they were saving it for later, or it could be a variety of reasons. Or maybe they added to cart and they were planning to come back later, then they forgot, or a variety of things. But I think you have to keep in mind that maybe they didn't have enough information. Maybe they weren't fully sold. Maybe they added a cart and then they continue to shop your competitors, things like that. And so with that particular market, you can take a couple of different approaches. One, you can just remind people, right? So it can be a relatively quick message of just reminding people, hey, we know you were shopping, add something to cart, we saved it for you, it's ready, just click here and come and get it. So you could do kind of a straightforward approach. Or one thing we've seen work really well is sharing testimonials, right? So maybe keep in mind that someone didn't have quite enough motivation, they weren't fully convinced to buy. So we'll often run testimonial mashups or user-generated content, UGC mashups here. So real customer testimonials of people talking about, hey, I've used this skin cream, it's my favorite, and here's why, and here's my skin type and whatnot, and then quickly cut to the next testimonial. And so kind of have a string of testimonials and then an offer at the end. That can work pretty well. We've also seen, if you're selling a more complex product and someone added a cart and then did not buy, maybe kind of an explainer, kind of digging into, hey, a lot of people before they buy this product, they have this question of, how does this part work? And so here's how it works. And here's a demonstration. They walk through it. And so, the nice thing about running ads to a remarketing list, and specifically a cart abandoner list, is that the production quality doesn't have to be off the charts, right? It does not have to be special effects and CGI, which we don't ever do that anyway, but it doesn't have to be crazy. It can be an iPhone and you looking at the iPhone and talking into it, or you can be at a table with your products laid out and you're holding it up and talking about it. Or it can be a compilation of user-generated content. And so it's more about answering the questions, providing a little more context, providing some clarity, giving people the confidence to say, okay, I'm ready to say yes. Now that I've seen that, I'm ready now to say yes. So it can be pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
It's interesting. This reminds me, I can't remember who said it, but the whole, if you have an hour to chop down a tree, you spend 40, 50 minutes sharpening the axe and then start chopping the tree. And I say that because it really is about thinking of your customer journey. Where were they? What is, back to your psychology comment earlier, the thing that you like is they're sitting in this spot in most cases, and you said some of this, but it would probably be if they made it all the way to the cart, barring their boss walked in and, a couple things, or they got to leave the office real quick. It was probably trying to find out some sort of shipping, might not quite have enough trust in your company, or they probably understood the product, but again, maybe an explainer video. So kind of thinking out, and I would imagine not worrying so much about the budget of the production, but almost maybe making videos for each of those type scenarios and testing them out. Because as marketers, we're all marketers here. Like we think we know, but the data tells us whether we really did or not.
Yep. Always want to test. And, you know, we haven't done a video quite like this, but you could even, you know, maybe even hold up a shopping bag and say, we saved this for you. You know, you got stuff inside of it. And then go on to say, hey, we know that lots of reasons why you maybe didn't check out, and then go on with the message. And so that's certainly an option. You know, we have a lot of clients that they will run essentially the same message though to product detail page viewers that they run to cart abandoners, just because creating video content is not as easy as, say, writing text or creating a display ad. And so it's certainly possible too, like we talked about user generated content or a longer explainer type video. You could run that to both a product detail page viewer and to a cart abandoner. I think it's better to get more specific and test in different things. But if you're just wanting to test this out and say, I'm just going to create one video because it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and energy, great, create one of those. And then you can test to the different audiences, as long as you keep it in that warm kind of remarketing bucket.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, obviously, it's great to have a specific video for every single situation, every single person. But if you don't have the time, I really like that testimonial, because, you know, when you create your site, you tend to focus on features, and you think from your point of view, this is my product, everybody should just buy it. But people don't really think that way, and that's why they abandon carts. So now giving that testimonial, that testimonial can say things that is going to be more believable to the customer. You know, like you can say this is the best thing ever, but if a third party says it, even though you're paying for the ad, it's just going to naturally be more, you know, there's going to be more trust behind that. And yeah, I mean, whether they're on the product detail page or they abandon on the last step of the checkout, that probably works, right? Like it's worth trying. Yeah,
absolutely. Testimonials really work even at the top of the funnel, right? Even if you're just going to awareness, we like to weave in some testimonials, but yeah, at the bottom of the funnel, yeah, just you can even test with 1 or 2 videos. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So, yeah.
Well, I have a specific question, then kind of going back to, okay, these people are going to be running ads for the first time, let's say in this pre-roll scenario. Maybe they've done some Facebook, done other things. There's a couple unique things that I would love for you to let them know about with the whole skip ad, and really, I would say more the structure and syntax, almost back to the psychology that talking, like, is there something specific they should do before the skip ad pops up and then after, and just basically just say the syntax of the script?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. So, you know, what a lot of people think about when they decide, hey, I'm going to run some YouTube ads, or I'm going to create a video ad for multiple platforms. The frame of reference that most people have is TV ads, right? We grew up watching TV ads, and I even mentioned that I even liked ads from the time I was a kid. And so we kind of have this mindset of, okay, well, a lot of TV ads will have kind of this slice of life, you know, to kind of lay out a scenario. Here's a guy getting ready for work or whatever, and he's in front of the mirror, and all this build up, and then the punchline is at the very end of the video, right? Then there's the big reveal of, oh, I see, the product's going to help you with all that stuff, right? That's usually not what works for YouTube, because people get that magical skip ad opportunity after 5 seconds. So what you run the risk of, if you just kind of you have this slow build ad, is you could get the wrong people to stick around because they're interested or whatever, and you could cause the right people to skip because they don't know what your ad is about. So one of the things we talk about a lot, and in this YouTube event you guys came to, we talked about this too, is bring the punchline into the first 5 seconds. Bring the main benefit into the first 5 seconds. We see this now with some videos, or, you know, even like movie trailers and something where, you know, you bring like a high action scene right to the first few seconds, explosion, stuff happens, and then you get into the story, right? And then another climax or another big event happens. And so that's usually what we're trying to do, is we're trying to say, hey, we're going to hook you in the first 5 seconds, and we're going to try to hook the right person, right? So who do we want to watch, and who are we okay if they skip, right? And so thinking about, what is our primary benefit? What is this all about? And bringing that right to the front. So a couple of ways you can approach that opener. You know, you can go funny if you want to. Actually get to hang out with Daniel Harmon from the Harmon Brothers, and we were talking about some of their famous videos. And one of the great ones is their poopery video, right? And so it's got kind of that shock and awe and humor opener where it's got the petite British lady in a dress sitting on a public toilet, and she opens with, "You would not believe the mother load I just dropped," right? So it's like this real, like, what? I can't believe she said that. And then it gets into how do you cover the smell in a bathroom, and it's really fun and funny. Or you can be very direct about the product, right? So I had a client that we helped get started on YouTube, and actually they sell these, for those that are watching the video, silicone wedding rings. And so the video opens with Peter, the owner, walking up and saying, "Hey, have you seen these? They're made of silicone, and they're called groove rings," and he kind of flexes it, right? So it's just really right to the point where, hey, if you're looking for a ring, you might watch it. If you're not, you're going to skip and get out of there, right? And so bringing the benefit, bringing the action point, bringing something that gets right to the point, bring the punchline to the first 5 seconds. And then you can start to lay more of the backdrop or more of the story. And we do like to layer in, a couple of calls to action as we go, if we can. For sure, a call to action at the end of the video. But the nice thing about this video ad unit that we run is, there are calls to action around the video. So one kind of in the lower left on desktop, one in the upper right on desktop. On mobile, it's kind of right below the video and overlaying the video. And so you can be enticing and calling someone to click through those calls to action as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the idea of this first 5 seconds. It's kind of that's the goal to everybody there. If you remember one thing, make the video for the first 5 seconds. And I assume now that if people skip, then you don't pay for the ad. Is that how it works?
That's the beauty of this ad unit. And one of the first reasons I was so excited about this, because as I mentioned, I've done TV ads for forever. And you'd always get to see the Nielsen ratings or whatever rating service someone is using, and you would hope that people watched, but that was the ratings for the program you're advertising in. Did people actually watch the video? I don't know. Did they get up and leave? Who knows? Like, did they click? Did they visit the site later? It's all a guess. And so what's beautiful about these are called True View ads on YouTube is that you only pay if someone actually views. And so what that means is they have to watch 30 seconds of the video if the video is 30 seconds or longer, or they have to watch the whole video if it's less than 30 seconds, or you don't pay. So if a video is 30 seconds long, someone hits the skip ad button after 28 seconds, you don't pay for that. So they've got to watch to that level. And so that I love that, because you're actually only paying for people that are engaged. And so because of that, you're almost incentivized to say, hey, let's bring the benefit, let's bring the punchline right to the first 5 seconds, because if someone who's not interested skips, we're fine with that. We don't pay for that. Let's just pay for people that are engaged and are interested.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was going to ask you about that I'm super excited to hear your input on is, unlike maybe a Facebook where you're trying to narrow down in your general audiences, you can get very specific and almost even target, if not a general area, a specific video on this. So you could almost go to your competitors if they're silly enough to let them run ads on your stuff. When you're running this pre-roll, do you think it's also beneficial to call out who is not your audience too? So basically, they're going to watch, I don't know why I'm picking real estate, but if you already know how to invest in real estate, maybe you have some course or something you're selling. If you already know how to do it and then hit skip ad and just get them to get out of there altogether and then go in to try to tell a little bit more.
Yeah. We've seen that approach. I've seen several advertisers do that. Not many of our clients have taken that approach for whatever reason, but yeah, I mean, you could do something like, hey, if you love paying full retail and you hate getting discounts, just skip this ad, because what I'm about to share with you, you'll have no interest in. I think that's kind of fun. I think then people are like, well, wait a minute, you're telling me to skip, so I'm not going to skip. And they may stick around. So I think that's totally worth testing. And we've mainly taken the approach, and a lot of the most successful YouTube ads we've seen are mainly just taking the approach of how do we speak directly to our target audience, and then let those that are not the target audience kind of self-select. Mm-hmm. But I think that scenario you presented and that approach would be totally worth testing. I think it'd be kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Scare away the people. You don't want to pay for them. So if they don't like what, if they're offended by the poopery, all right, see you later. We're not going to pay for this ad,
Yeah, because the goal, good point, Jess, because the goal isn't to not pay for the ad. The goal is to get them to buy something. But if they're
Exactly.
not going to be the people that are going to buy something, they may as well skip the ad. Like you said, you don't want people just watching it because it's an interesting video and you're paying for someone that doesn't want your product. So
Yeah, I think the real key and what you need to focus on is, how do I speak directly to my ideal buyer? So my ideal buyer, those that are going to get the most satisfaction and they're going to be the happiest with my product and they're the most likely to buy, how do I speak directly to them so that they say yes, or at least maybe? I'll keep watching. I'll keep seeing. I'm going to stick around and see what you have to say, because you've got me at least somewhat interested. So how do we speak directly to them? And then we're completely okay if the person that's not an ideal buyer says nah. And so I think that's really the focus, is how do we speak directly to that customer. And you mentioned something really interesting a minute ago, Rich. You talked about targeting your competitors and how to maybe reach, do some competitive conquesting on YouTube. So I'm happy to speak about that if you'd like, or talk audiences or whatever.
Oh, for sure. That would be great.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. What's beautiful about YouTube is there's massive amounts to scale, right? I mean, there's all the inventory in the world on YouTube. I mentioned at the YouTube event, now there's 2 billion active monthly users globally on YouTube. When I first started talking about YouTube 3 years ago, it was 1 billion. So huge scale. I mean, just, you can get all the scale you want. You can spend all the money you want on YouTube ads. We have several clients spending multiple 6 figures a month on YouTube ads, but you can be very focused too. You can be very targeted. And so there's a couple things you can do. You mentioned it, Rich. You could pick your competitors' YouTube channels, and if they allow advertising, you could target their channels and you could run ads as a pre-roll there. We do that a lot. You could also use you could do keyword targeting. So you could use your competitors' keywords, even your competitors' names, as keywords, and do keyword targeting for ads. And so then you could maybe show up, and so maybe let's say your competitor doesn't allow ads on their videos, but there are other videos, review videos and things, videos on other channels of people talking about your competitors. You could target those videos, right? And then your ad could show up there. You can also build an audience. We talked about this a little bit at the event as well, but custom intent audiences, where you're building an audience based on what someone is searching for on Google. And I know for me and for a lot of people, what you search for on Google is different than what you search for on YouTube. So you can build an audience of people that have searched for your competitors on Google, and now the next time they're on YouTube, you can show your ad to them. So all kinds of really creative and interesting ways to build ads. There is definitely scale opportunities. You can go for really broad audiences, but you can get very targeted, very focused, which is often a great thing to do, especially in the beginning.
Yeah. More on the targeting. So, we started with remarketing, and usually that's going to be, you set up your remarketing tags, and the ad gets directed to people who've been to your site or different places. So, everybody who's listening, talk to support. There are ways to do that. And you mentioned the custom intent audience. I get that. There's for people listening, you kind of create this list of keywords. Now, what have you seen work better on? Obviously, remarketing is probably always going to be your winner. Custom intent is going to give you the scale, but then like really targeting specific videos. Do you, like whether it's a competitor, you want to be in front of theirs, but maybe it's maybe they don't sell this particular product, but they are about this product, right? Like they are in the space. I don't have a good example, but like, have you seen that work better than custom intent, which is letting Google do the work, or targeting specific videos where you have to kind of do the work?
Yeah, it's both, and it does kind of depend on the advertiser. And so one kind of point of clarification, and I didn't really mention this before. You mentioned some scale with custom intent. Usually, custom intent has less scale; it's just more focused. And the beauty is, because it's custom, you can actually pick your keywords. So you can come up with a list of 50 keywords and put them in this audience, and then Google will build a group of people that have searched for those keywords, and then you can target them on YouTube. To your point, let's take a client selling minimalist running shoes, right? So, and we've actually worked in this space before. So then maybe you're saying, okay, I don't necessarily need to target other channels that are all about minimalist running shoes, but what about just running channels and barefoot running and different hiking and outdoor and active channels, or looking at what are the other channels that people are interested in that are likely to buy my product. And so yeah, targeting channels, targeting specific videos with your ad, that usually works quite well. So as we look at our progression, so, start with remarketing first, and then from there, we're usually looking at keyword targeting, which would be, keywords on YouTube itself, custom intent targeting, placements is what we're talking about now, where you're picking channels or picking specific videos. And then from there, we start to go broader and look at interest targeting and demographics, and then you can go really, really broad. So yeah, it really depends on the product. We've seen like medical devices and things in the health space. Sometimes keywords on YouTube, sometimes that's the best. Custom intent, those are often really focused and really efficient campaigns. Placements, we've seen placements work from automotive clients to skincare clients, and so those are really interesting too. So we do kind of subscribe to that idea of let's start with remarketing, and then let's start with intent-based audiences where we know, hey, they're likely in the market, they're likely shopping, they're likely pretty interested in what we sell. Let's do that next. And then we can kind of go broader and higher in the funnel. Once we know, hey, we've got a video that works, we've got a landing page that works, then we can start going broader in our targeting.
Got it. Yeah, I was thinking, so Rich, I was thinking of the Kent Rollins podcast we did probably a month or two ago. Like, we probably didn't give the perfect advice because we probably jumped ahead to the placements. And Brett, Brett Rollins is, or Kent Rollins, not Brett, is he's a chef that's been on all the like kind of the chef cooking shows, and his particular thing is like outdoor Dutch oven cooking. And
yeah, I went to his site actually because you posted in the show. It was really, really cool. It's fascinating.
Yeah, like a ton of followers, but we were mentioning like, oh yeah, you can place this in front of Bobby Flay and you can say how you beat Bobby Flay in the cook-off or whatever. And I'm just wondering, I know the answer is, oh, you should test that, but is that better to place it in front of the general interest or wait for people to type in Dutch oven cooking or, I don't know. But
yeah, I think it really depends, and obviously that's the easy answer, right? But I think so. One of the things we talk about a lot, just generally, is is your product, is it more about demand capture or more about demand generation? So give us some examples. There are certain types of automotive parts that are more about demand capture, and I'll use an example. I try to never touch these myself, but let's say brake pads. You only buy brake pads if you need them, right? So you have a need, you go search for it. So that's more like demand capture. It's hard to create demand by wowing people with how amazing your brake pads are. You're not going to show a video and people will be like, you know what? I'm going to go change my perfectly good brake pads for your better brake pads because that's just how I roll. That's demand capture, right? But there's demand generation where you're saying maybe you're showing a bumper or you're showing new wheels or whatever, where it's like, you know what, I wasn't thinking about that, but now that I see it, I really like it. Or we had a client one time that had this hair contraption for creating great ponytails. And it was something that no one ever would search for because no one knew about it. But if you saw it and you wore a ponytail, you'd be like, oh, that's amazing, revolutionary, right? So that's like fully demand generation. So I think depending on where you fall there, and a lot of our clients are somewhere in between, right? There's a little bit of demand capture and some demand generation. So I would think about that. So for this, like, this is outdoor Dutch oven cooking. There's probably a few people searching for it, but I think it's going to be probably, and this is just my guess, I haven't researched this category, but probably more demand generation. So who is my audience? Like, who are these people? Maybe these are preppers. Maybe these are, people that are into country music. Maybe these are people that are into their own gardens. I don't know. And maybe none of those things are true, but so this is what my buyer looks like. Now let me target those channels and maybe some of the keywords around that. And then if I show them this awesome video of how, my recipes or my style of Dutch oven cooking really is amazing, then I can win them over. So I think it's a matter of, demand capture, demand generation, and then finding the right audience there and the right offer and kind of that combination of things.
Okay.
Well, I feel a little bit better because when I was guessing before you started saying something, I was like, yeah, maybe like people who just like camping or things like that. Like they would actually utilize this when they were out camping, so.
Yeah, I think that can absolutely work. And, I think it just depends on the offer and on the product. But the beautiful part about YouTube is you can test small if you need to. You can test with a smaller budget and see, does this video resonate? Is it working? And then once you find a winner, there's all the scale that you could ever want there too.
Okay. No, that's awesome. I mean, I want to kind of bring it back to the, like the inside the YouTube world and the ad placements, right? Like, of course, we can make all sorts of different videos, and we should. But assuming people are making 1 to 2 videos to try, how often or how important is the various like things around YouTube, like the call to action there and the text you can place and the kind of the end cap and whatnot, like all these little things that are fairly easy to play with and much easier to play with than making a whole new video.
Yep.
How much do you play with that? How important is it?
Yeah, so it is important for sure. And once YouTube started to introduce those, like when we first started experimenting with YouTube ads, there was not the call to action buttons like they have now. And so once they introduced those, that was a real game changer. Once they launched a program called TrueView for Action, that was a game changer. We can talk about that at some point, but if we have time. We found usually a simpler is better there. So we've done quite a few tests on do we add on the actual button, do we put buy now? Do we put shop now? Do we put learn more? Is it try XYZ, whatever the brand name is.
Mm-hmm.
In most cases, we found that learn more does better, right? So the video is going to do the heavy lifting. The video is going to tell the story. The video is going to convince someone to take the next action. For the most part, something like buy now feels like more of a commitment than shop now or compare or learn more. And so when we've tested it head to head, learn more almost always wins. And so we usually stick with that or some variation of it. We haven't seen dramatic changes though as we've tested that copy. Not nearly the type of change when we test different videos, right? So sometimes, you have a video that's okay, you bring in a new video and it goes 10, 20x. Change of the call to action isn't typically doing that. But we found learn more, some variation of that usually does best.
All right. I like it. We'll take the cliff notes, everybody. Learn more. So awesome. So, all right. I think, Rich, we got kind of a lot of info here. Do you have any last questions you want to ask?
I mean, like I said in the very beginning, I could sit here and talk to you for hours on this. It really more, is there some like cliff notes or something that you actually you said you had a gift or somewhere we can send people that you had something?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the hardest part with YouTube is the creative, and then there are a lot of important things. I mean, campaign structure and how you bid and audience targeting, all of that definitely matters. But without the right video, without the right ad, if your ad doesn't resonate, if it's boring, if it falls on deaf ears, then none of the rest of it matters, right? So over the last couple of years, my team and I, we've been collecting good YouTube ads from our clients, from those that we've been observing. And so we started kind of giving them names and categorizing them and then breaking down why they work. And so put together this guide. We initially used this guide internally. So we would give this guide to our specialists and say, hey, as we're talking to new clients, let's use these as an examples and share them. And then I happened to mention this guide from stage one time and had a ton of people say, can I have the guide? Can you share it with me? And so we decided to package it up and make it look kind of nice. And so it's our top YouTube ad templates and examples. And so I think it's 6 or 7 of our top templates and then lots of examples for each and links to the actual videos. And so it's free. You can get it on our website, omgcommerce.com. Under resources, click on guides, and it's the YouTube ad templates and guides. So that's important. And one last thing I'll kind of share about that is we've seen this stat from Google, and I would tend to agree with it, where they say, 70% of the success of your video campaigns and specifically YouTube ad campaigns is the creative, right? So getting the creative right is super important. And it doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be high budget, but you do need to think it through. It's not just throwing something up there and going for it. You need to think about what's our approach and what's the psychology and where is someone in their buying process and stuff like that. So yeah, that guide's a great resource, gives lots of examples.
Well, Brett, loved having you on the show here. Guys, we're going to put the links to that gift in the thing, so please check that out. Really hoping you can get going on YouTube. So for everybody out there, get out there and make it happen.
Thanks, Rhett.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Jesse and Rich. We want to let you know we really appreciate you listening.
We hope you find the tips we give you helpful for growing your business.
You can find all of our past episodes and a lot more useful stuff at equid.com/podcast.
And also, check us out on your favorite podcasting platform like Apple Podcast or Stitcher. And make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing.
Be sure to let us know what you think by rating and reviewing so we can serve you better.
So subscribe on your favorite platform.
And come join our community, check out the transcripts, or tell us why you would be a great guest at equid.com/podcast.